Good afternoon, Scott Rella, T3 Live. Welcome to today's recap. It is Thursday. Tomorrow we have a big jobs number, and we've had a pretty choppy week. I'd say we've been in the same spot almost for the last 6-7 sessions, where every time it looks like we're supposed to break over a prior high, it loses momentum, gets back below, and falls back into the support or the range. But the range isn't breaking down either yet. There are definitely some weaker stocks out there that are starting to fall apart, and there's some names that are still holding in there. So for me, I've been just trying to take trades, trying to stay with some things for maybe 1 to 3 days, depending on the situation, and also shorting the spiders as a hedge. And every time it's gone up on strength, I add to it a little bit. It comes in, take it off, trade around it, and then see what hangs around. So it's been working. I think guys in the VTF are having a good week, and there are definitely just trades out there. You don't have to just sit. And I know some things are better just to sit, and if you overdo it, you lose sight of staying involved, but whatever, that's just like so many different X's and O's. If you look right here quickly at the SPX, you will see, again, we've had a really big move since igniting here at that 1904 low, and then digesting here. We talk about times to switch some gears, times to change. This, we broke 19.7, time to be neutral to negative, maybe short. In here, you had that choppy range before resolving to the upside and showing commitment to that resolution. And then that was the time to, look for longs. And you had a nice momentum move through highs. And we've been doing a whole lot of nothing. It's going on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, almost 8 sessions where we've been hugging the 8th day, and it's getting a little wishy-washy. Kind of the same thing that happened here, somewhat, right? It looked like you had a range for a while, where it just, you had to really be careful if you added or you shorted, because, you shorted this day, came back up, bought this day, came back in before finally breaking. So in this spot, not very sure what's next. I'm not sure if we need to test the 21-day. I'm not sure if tomorrow on the jobs report we finally get some traction. So when I'm not sure, I have two sides of the tape going on. You look real quickly across the board, the Qs, which had its first engulfing day, also had another red day. So still above the 8th day, but getting a little wishy-washy. And after a big move like we've seen from the lows and a big move like we've seen for the majority this year, it makes some sense to take a little bit of excess off. Okay, still well above the trend line, well above the low from April, well above when we reignited here and negated that right shoulder that everyone was talking about here with that head and shoulders pattern, but whatever. Same thing happened here. If you remember, we talked about left shoulder head, potential right shoulder that blasted out. So here we are elevated. The question is, sometimes it does come back to the 21-day. And, if you look at something like Apple, it just shows you that things can happen fast. And, we've been talking about Apple, trading Apple, holding Apple, playing options, doing everything you could do with it when it's calculated. This was your gap up when they announced the earnings and the split. Big move. Choppy range, then this was when it expanded. This is when you get it from tier 1 to tier 2, then figure out what's next. And what next was a big rally. Then it consolidated again, came into the 21-day, broke above it. This was your spot to add on and then maybe sell some strength, whatever. Another descending channel, boom. And then here, it started to just grind and go higher, and everyone was upgrading it and no one was getting any traction, and it just felt very overbought. So with that being said, a week before the big rollout on the 9th, they sold it before, which I think could be a good thing. So instead of being up here the day that they release and show the iPhone 6 and they sell the news, maybe they sell it ahead of time, get people out, get people scared, and then you get better action. But all in all, all these descending channels wound up resolving to the upside the same way this ascending channel resolved to the downside. And then, but today, if you came in flat, I actually came in flat Apple, the stock, I'm still maneuvering my call spread. There was a trade here, a trade around the pivot. Now I'm going to talk to you about a red dog reversal because I think today was a good example. Today was a good example how one wasn't particularly ready, but there was a good trade there. If you knew 98.58 was the level, okay, we opened up a little bit above it. So if anyone was trading Versat, they got stopped out. Anybody who thought we would continue below it, go down to the 50-day, it probably got short and reversed for a nice trade. Look at it on the 5-minute chart. That's what I'm going to show you. Okay, and how you use a 5-minute chart for trade. Sometimes things are hold, sometimes they're a trade. And here, things opened up a little bit, okay? Then it traded real quickly through 98.50, the prior low, so people got stopped out. Then what happened? Came right back through. So So as it was coming back through, if you were watching the VTF, you saw me probably get long around 98.40. I added 98.50, and then it cleared this, added a little bit more, sold some strength, and then I kept it because I wasn't sure what was going to be next. I wasn't sure when you looked at this chart here, it looked as if, it could have gotten back, right? It looked like it could have retraced more. You had a downtrend here pretty much, right, going sideways more on the 15-minute chart where it could have broken above this squeeze to 150 or maybe even retested 101. You didn't know. Okay, so with that being said, right here, it looked like you weren't sure. And I was still in it and I was thinking, okay, I didn't have the same thing I had in the power area or in the inflection point when people who got stopped out of their longs or got short needed to cover because they weren't sure if, what's next. So that's why this is a great day trade. Look how fast it was. We love fast money. I think by, 10 o'clock, I'm like 22 minutes in, you could have been a buyer at 98.50 with a stop at the low of the day and made over $1 and made your money for the day on a really good setup because that was a really good setup. Then you could have drawn your trusty flag saying, who knows, maybe it continues over 109, which is what was resistance, and goes to 150 or 150, or 101. Or if it breaks this, get out of the way. Okay, and then lo and behold, we started getting closer to 11 o'clock. I'm like, I got to go to the gym. I also have a lunch meeting, blah, blah, blah. Broke this, tried a little bit, and then, into this, I pretty much got out. And then you saw while I was away, I probably got stopped out right here. So my leftover, my trailer that I had on still, I got stopped out right here because I wasn't just going to sit around while I'm away and give back more money. So PS, it wound up coming all the way down and closing right around the lows of the day. So now we could rinse and repeat tomorrow. So this red dog reversal right here was different, right? This was different because it wound up not having enough strength to hold than this one. This one you came all the way down from, what was that, 99.44 into the 50-day 94.10 was the low, traded below that low, went to 93.28, came back above, and closed strong. So that had me take it home long, and then it cleared the descending channel to add to it. So that was a different type of trade. There was a day trade and a potential day-on swing trade, which look what happened. Here, there was a day trade, so if you helped a portion of it and got stopped out, you didn't make on your entire position, but you made on some. If it gaps up tomorrow, who cares? If it gaps down tomorrow or does the same thing, trades below tomorrow, you write down 97.79. If it trades below, touches the 50-day, comes back above, maybe we try again, and then who knows, maybe this time, you get a clear red dog reversal that closes more on the highs like this one, and then we see, what's next. As of right now, this wide range bar is still in control because it couldn't even take back more than a third of it. So you have to be a little careful. That's just some tactical thoughts on Apple. You go to something like Netflix, what did that do? It also, no real rally, it tried. You still have this topping tail right here, and it actually traded below the prior low. So this is something I would say you lighten up. Momentum stocks are very quick. When momentum changes, it changes quick. So when something starts to get wishy-washy, you get out of the way. You like momentum names when momentum is strong. This is when it broke out. This is when it held tight. This is when it broke again and continued, and now it's, not really sure. Tesla acted a little bit better. This one, we've had a lot of different trades. Here's when it broke above this, broke above the highs, blah, blah, blah. PS still hanging in there. Still looks good. If you had to be long something, this is something to stay sort of long, holding a bit better. Amazon was strong on the news today, gave you an intraday trade, closed a little off the highs. Just to show you got to continue to take trades. It gave you a quick move on the 3-minute chart if you weren't long overnight. But then just fell apart, really. Actually, it didn't give you much of a move. It happened so fast you had to grab it. You had to really know what the pivot was, and the pivot was on the daily right here. This was your pivot, this 346.67, because if anyone was short versus 346.67, that's where they cover. So it probably went through that real fast, and if you trade the first few minutes, then you maybe would have grabbed it, and that was like right around here. And then just gave you really no secondary move. It tried and then failed, so that was probably frustrating for people. Google gave you, it's been a nice trade from the red dog reversal. This is a different type of red dog reversal. Remember this one? We talked about it. This is, let's go Google, G-O-O-G-O. You know, not a great close, but from where it came from 4 days ago, this was the little bottom tail, okay, which wound up holding. So if you actually weren't super tight, you stayed with it. If you were like me, you probably got out of it and then went back on this day, added this day. I got out yesterday, and then today went again. Did not get through this. It's still fine. Like I take trades. I don't like to sit. I'm now in options. I bought, I don't remember exactly, but maybe late October 610. So if this does happen to take out this area and goes towards the, the 630s, 640s, which I think it can, I'll be in options and then I'll just take trades. And if it's clean, which Google just hasn't really been clean, you haven't had big wide range bars that has made it easy to hold. So I take trades when they're there. And right now it still looks, pretty good. Facebook, pretty much, held in decent. Nothing to really write home about, but it's above the 8-day. Didn't fall apart after yesterday. Was stronger most of the day before the end of the day. Twitter was also decent. After that wide range bar, it actually pushed very far into it. Didn't close on highs, but still, acting like best in breed. Held above the earnings day high. Some of those old IPOs, G-Pro, good to see a down day. At some point, perhaps we could be buyers a little closer to here, which also would line up to there. That would be nice. So alert me if I'm not watching if that happens. MBLY, earnings were out. It took it green, and then the CEO spoke. He didn't sound so good in my opinion. But anyway, down day. We'll see what happens here. It's a little wishy-washy. The banks, not much to say. What I want to talk about? I want to talk real quickly about, everyone loves when there's little fights on Twitter. And I have a love-hate relationship with Keith. We get along well. I think he's very smart. He's obviously very into his ideas, and sometimes it comes out very loud. And we had a little argument about the TLTs. It wasn't, a fight. We weren't going at it. But we have two different approaches. And he has been like, I want to be long the TLTs and gold or whatever it is, not caring about and following a thesis and following research. For me and for us, we use technicals because I don't really have research. I read research just to get a general idea, which is the strategy. And then I was actually talking with Wiz about having tactics to then confirm and execute on the strategy. So for the TLTs, a few days back, I said, look at this. It's an island top, which is a technical term. It's not a research term, and it's not a rocket science term. It's just a technical pattern. You could Google it, and you'll see it. So that's a blueprint of money. What that is, it leaves people trapped, and it could cause a different direction. So TLT, in my opinion, right here, okay, it looked fine. His thesis was definitely holding through, and every dip has been viable. And here you have the top or the two little bars that got trapped on this day. So right there, if you happen to be riding this trend, okay, this is when you say, oh, I got to salvage this and get out because you have this big gap. And then you wait to see if the gap gets filled. Was it emotional or is it real? Is it going to be in control? And what happened is the next day, it was green, and then today we went below. So as of right now, I see no reason to be in the TLTs long. Okay, the last few times it broke below the 8 and 21 day, it's held the 50 or even went as low as the 100. So right now in no man's land, some people are saying just buy the TLTs because they're going to go up and rates are going to continue lower, blah, blah, blah. I have no idea. This is an island top. This could be a directional change, and as of right now, that's what's taking place. If you do sell on this day when it breaks the 8 and 21 day, you actually have the luxury of trying it here and not being caught in it. And this is still, what is that? This is 115. It closed at around 116. So it's only another dollar. And what's a dollar between friends? But that's a difference of, or that fine line of maybe staying in it or not being involved. You go to the TBTs, which have been a disaster if you've tried it. Definitely a disaster buying it this year. Okay, until perhaps you get a change of direction. And maybe this is it, where you have the island bottom. 2 bars down here, gap up, didn't come in, fill the gap, and now today made a higher high. And to me, I wouldn't just be blindly shorting the TBTs. Maybe you wait and see what happens here. Or if you're playing some kind of bounce, that's what you look for. It's actually gone above it a few times, so it has happened. So to me, I think moving averages, are at least real points of reference that you could gauge action around better than opinions and research that you could have a thesis that could take months and years to pan out. But anyway, that's what we do here. We do technical analysis, and I also, I read a lot in the morning. I'm up at 4:45. I'm reading, the JP Morgan note, I'm reading, I love Kenny's note, I'm reading everyone's note, and then I'm looking at the charts and I'm creating my thesis and I'm creating my approach based on what's going on that day and the time frame and what I'm looking to do. So research is good. It's good to have a thesis, but then it's great to see how the market reacts to it, whether it confirms it, and then you need tactics and X's and O's to execute based on your system. So anyway, tomorrow's a jobs report. The ranges are getting a little wishy-washy. I think your stock selection is very key right now. Your entries and exits really matter, because if you add on strength, that's been hurting. Or even today, if you shorted more when the spiders broke 199.80, you probably said, oh my goodness, they just rallied them in my face into the close. What do I do? So, selling strength right now and buying the dip in this range is what's been working until it resolves. And we've seen this before. When that's the case, take trades and just limit your big scope of names. Make sure it's there's that execution criteria. I'm not sure what was said. It's something, the criteria needs to feel like, we call it an A trade. Just be in an A trade, or maybe a A- at best. Don't be looking for the C's and the D trades for cash flow and just a whim, because we're not in that environment right now, I think. I'll be in Short Hills tomorrow trading. Their office is starting to get some people. I'm excited for them. They have great guys. If you're in New Jersey, and you don't want to trade at home and you're near Short Hills, send me a tweet and I'll forward it to the boys. And there's definitely a few spots left. And why trade alone when you could trade with guys that are trying to make it happen the same way you are? And if you have that potential. Anyway, I will talk to you tomorrow or later tonight. Have a good one.